What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all having an incredible evening. And even though the Bills have a game on Monday night this week, we still got to bring it back for a Saturday night tailgate. And yes, for the first time in what feels like forever, I'm going to introduce him first because, hey, he hasn't been on the show in almost a month. Mario Granata of Hashtag Sports. Mario, thank you for joining us again. It's good to get you back.
I don't know why Mookie is pounding, but it's good to be back here on the Saturday tailgate. But as you know, as everyone knows in the Bills Mafia, we need 2 days to tailgate if we're going to tailgate. So that's why we're doing it on Saturday. It's great to be back. I'm freezing in my house because I don't pay my heating bill. So I just want to let all y'all know that. But what's up with the chat in both Facebook and YouTube? It's good to talk to you guys, and I can't wait to get this bad boy started.
It's all right, man. I keep it a little more chilly in my house too. If it gets cold, put on a hat, put on a hoodie. Get a blanket, you'll be okay. We got to keep those bills down. But Mookie Hawkins, the sports director of WUFO Sports Report 1080. Mookie, it's always a pleasure coming on here with you. This week's no different.
No different, Clay, man. You know, I always look forward to Saturday night tailgates. You know what I mean? Hey, Mario.
Yes, sir.
You started something over the week, I see.
I had zero intention on ruffling feathers in the Buffalo creator / media community, but I went with the on the field personalities were the people that I've worked with and talked with before, and the coaching staff were all the big dogs. I was hoping that would get seen through the lens of the people looking at it, but apparently it was not. And for those of you that got upset that you were left off the list, I was planning on making a defensive side of the ball, but I did not get the chance.
everyone got so defensive, so we had to add another
I'm the
side
water
of the ball.
boy. I'm the water boy.
You are not the water boy, Mookie.
I'm the water boy. I only coached and played for like 30 out of my.
I had you as my CB1. What are you talking about?
CB1? I was CB1?
You were.
Oh, baby, you got to prime time me too, man. I needed some offensive work too. You know what I mean?
I'll give you number 21 too.
I need some slot work too, man. I can lock them down, but I give me the damn ball too. Keyshawn Johnson voice.
Too many mouths to feed on that team. No one's gonna be happy. Too many mouths.
I put myself at center. I mean, that's the humble pie that I gave myself. So
that was pretty good, though. I mean, the media, it caught the media attention. All the reporters was like, "Wait a minute, when you catch Marcel softball, don't ever put me on this." Don't ever.
Oh my god! I didn't know I would ruffle that. Some clown that has a YouTube channel of 3,000 subs would ruffle so many feathers. I have no idea how that happened.
That's what sparked me. I was like, "Wait, what Marcel talking about?" You know what I mean? And then I scrolled. I was like, "Oh, okay."
I will say this: that offensive line was pretty sick. The one I made, I thought
your right tackle was pretty good.
The line was good. I was impressed by the line. I had no problems with the line at all. You know what I mean? I could run behind those guys. I could play behind them too. You know what I mean? So I was cool with that. The linebackers, I was cool with the linebackers. You know?
I don't know. Chris Kruger isn't really holding much down. I really hope nobody runs the ball.
That was just a hair team, though. They just, even though you won't be able to see it in a helmet. But
are you saying that Chris Kruger is the AJ Klein of the Buffalo creator community?
Oh, he'd be worse. He'd be Preston Brown.
Did you talk about the first 8 weeks of the season, AJ Klein, or?
Oh my god! Yeah, the 14 tackle AJ Klein. That was impressive. That was highly impressive.
Is it BC or AD? You know what I mean? Which one is it?
Oh my god!
But that's good. that was pretty dope. Now we got to make the game happen, I guess. Now, right?
Yeah.
I'm game for a little creator on media game if they're down for it.
Thanksgiving next year. You should do that. Yeah, that'd be a nice charity event.
Right? Yeah, nice turkey bowl. You know what I mean? Get it done.
I'd put Mookie in retirement.
Like Stephen Hauschka today. You know what I mean? Stephen Hauschka just went into retirement today, baby. So, hey, House Money, we appreciate all your time in Buffalo, man, giving us those nice kicks, them 50-yarders, them game winners. You know what I mean? We appreciate your time. I wish that you had an opportunity in that Houston game to kick that field goal, but you didn't. But, we wish you were in your future endeavors, man. Outstanding career, especially here in Buffalo, my girl. So, shout out to Stephen House Money Hauschka on retiring today.
Very true. Yeah. Very true.
Huge part of that team that broke the drought in 2017. But
absolutely,
Bills, they have a big time opponent this week and a big time stage. Monday Night Football. This part of the year, this is really where they kind of try and slate important, good games. And I mean, this one coming in from last season, going into this year, it was probably anticipated to be a much better game than we all enter it with now, considering this team is just, I mean, they've been decimated by injuries. 13 players on injured reserve. They had 23 different guys on injured reserve at different points and periods of time. They're down to Nick Mullins as their quarterback. Their defensive line, they're missing their big ticket guys. You can't even call this a Super Bowl hangover from this team, from the NFC champion, the 49ers. You can't, because I don't know. I don't think they really had a fair shot at it. This COVID thing really kind of messed up their season. If it affected any team, you could say it affected the 49ers. So you're definitely not getting this team at full strength at this point in time of the season, as a lot of people anticipated going into the year. But this still should be a fun game for both sides. Mookie, what are your overall thoughts going into this week?
First of all, I think there's a lot of disrespectful people out there. There's a lot of disrespectful people out there. Did you check the line? The Bills is +1. What is it? Because they're going back out to Arizona where the Hail Murray came? You know what I mean? They think that they're just distraught still over the Hail Murray and just mystified of going back to, that stadium where it all happened to make the Bills was a, +1. I didn't get that. It's very disrespectful for the Bills to be +1 with the 49ers having their number 2 quarterback in the starting lineup. That's why I felt that was very disrespectful. But, hey, anything that motivate these Bills to go out there and want to play and perform, maybe if they caught wind of this, and I'm quite sure they have, they should come out, ready to explode against the NFC defending champion. You know what I mean? So I take that as disrespect. We can't have Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel coming off of IR just all of a sudden like they just been clear-cut number ones and leading the league, in receptions and stuff like that as well. So the Bills need to come out aggressive, aggressive. You know what I mean? We get that going. Everybody's in tip-top shape and nice and healthy other than Smoke Brown. Very disrespectful for them to say the Bills are +1 today. I'll take it, though. Actually, I took the money line.
You should. I mean, I have no – I should not be telling people what to do with their money, where to bet their money. I'm sure I'll touch on my thoughts on the Bills, being +1 in this game in a moment. But, Mario, what are your thoughts heading into this primetime matchup with the 49ers?
I want to go over to this one thing that I saw for the primetime. The Bills are currently – I just want to say that 6-23 in primetime games since 2000. Their most recent Monday night win was October 4th, 1999. Now, I know that's not the same team, and I understand that. And, Mookie, you got to know that the betting lines are such that the Buffalo Bills are 8-0 at during 1 o'clock games this year. And then all the night games that they've played, they're 0-3. So that is what contributes to, certain part of the betting line. I understand the amount of disrespect you have, but you're going to talk about two different teams where offensively they're only separated by 2.5 yards per game. Mm-hmm. One team being 8-3, another team being 5-6. So it's just the way that the ball bounces sometimes. And a big contributor to that is the fact that San Francisco is 23rd in the NFL. Their offense is 23rd in the NFL in third down conversions, while the Bills are second in third down conversions. So that contributes to keeping the ball, moving the ball on the field, and actually getting first downs, getting touchdowns. So that all being intertwined, I at the beginning of the year I picked this as a loss for the Buffalo Bills. However, coming into this week with the IR spots, and I think it was Chris Spencer on YouTube, he said their the Niners IR team could beat some teams that are actually on the field with how much talent they've lost this year with the injury that it's on injury reserve. But I think it's going to be a tough battle for the Buffalo Bills because you think about everything that's intertwined. If the Buffalo Bills are going to lose a game, let's just say they lose to the 49ers, don't jump on me yet. If they lose to the 49ers, it's an NFC game. It doesn't count against your conference. It doesn't count against your division. So if you're going to lose games, the NFC games are the ones to lose. Traveling out there, going out there, I don't think the Hail Murray is going to have anything to do with it. But going out there, playing a West Coast team that you haven't played the 49ers in 4 years. Last time they played was 2016. You ever played a 49er team? But I just think it's going to be a new experience for them going out there. Hopefully they could get more experience as far as primetime games go and get that underneath their belt so then they can move forward with that because, if they keep winning the way they do, they're going to have a lot more games that are in prime time.
Oh, they haven't won a Monday night game since I was born, Mario. That hurts. That really kind of hurts. I don't think there's no real articulate way I can explain it. The only way I can
October 4th, 1999 against the Dolphins was their last Monday night win.
That's almost 21 years. Oh my God, that's bad, dude.
Bad. My son wasn't even born either. So hey.
Well, the last one they played was the Derek Anderson game. Then the one before that, I believe, was the Seattle game where Richard Sherman tackled Dan Carpenter. And the one before that was the Dallas game.
Yes. I think you're correct in your – and there might have not been another one in there, but they didn't get a lot of them. Believe me, during that drought.
No, I think that's it. I think if someone fact-check me right now, that those are the last three they've played. So they definitely haven't had good luck on Monday Night Football, to say the least. But they have had good luck this year against the NFC West, as they're only 3-1, or excuse me, they're 2-1. They kind of maybe arguably should be 3-0 at this point, but they've had good success against that division. Let's talk about this 49er offense, because looking at who they're going to have available this week, who they won't have available, and what have you, I think it's going to be interesting to see what their approach is. I know what this game is really going to come down to, in my opinion, on that side of the ball, on the Bills' defensive side of the ball, and for the 49ers offense. But Mario, why don't you tell me what you're looking for this 49er team to kind of do to the Bills to get them out of their comfort zone and maybe get the upper hand on this defense?
Well, I think when you look at a team that in the 49ers, I believe that they're, I just want to get my facts right. They're 16th in the NFL in rushing and 12th in passing for 12th overall. You start to look at it, I think the biggest thing right now that the 49ers have working in their favor is unpredictability. I mean, you got a lot of guys coming back. You got a lot of guys that have been banged up, going in and out of the lineup. So there hasn't been really a lot of consistency going on with the San Francisco 49ers offense as far as it goes. Mullins still very, very unproven. You got a couple guys coming back. You got that the three-headed monster in the backfield, I believe, is going to be ready with Mostert, McKinnon, and maybe Coleman. I'll have you check me on that, Clayton. But the point is, that's what a Shanahan offense wants to do. They want to try to run the ball. They want to try to get the ball out on the edges. And I think that's going to be the goal of the San Francisco 49ers in this game, is you're going to try to do what has the Buffalo Bills been doing successfully defensively? They've been rushing A.J. Klein. They've been bringing pressure. They've been doing a lot of those things. Well, now you got to try to get it so the Buffalo Bills are not blitzing off the corner. They're not bringing that pressure. And what do? You have running backs that can catch the ball and make some moves in open field. So, I mean, you get Milano coming back, which is nice, but it's going to be one of those things where they're going to try to pepper the ball a little bit to those running backs to try to alleviate the pressure off of Mullins, and then try to hit one down the field. But they're going to try to spread this defense out east and west. That's what they're going to try to do in order to try to open up some lanes for Mullins to throw through.
Well, it's going to be a lot of, one thing about San Fran, they do a lot of window dressing. All right, we're going to see a lot of motioning. We're going to see a lot of shifting. We're going to see one guy going this way, jet sweeps, and they run in zone opposite. So Bill's going to have real good eye discipline. We know that, the Bills do struggle against the run. Hopefully with Matt Milano coming back into the fold will strengthen things, especially with the late development in A.J. Klein. So when teams do go with 21 personnel, I won't be as nervous. In the beginning of the season I was, but now I wouldn't be as nervous to know that we got A.J. Klein, Matt Milano, and Tremaine Edmonds out there in 21 versus 21 personnel. Now, with that being said, we know Matt Milano is still going to be locked on the tight end, and we still know A.J. Klein will be responsible for that running back. And, Mozart can catch out of the backfield. And that still raises a concern with me with A.J. Klein as far as his covering ability. When he's aggressive, putting his ears back, at the line of scrimmage, that's more his strong suit. He still continues at times and struggles in the pass game, especially if he's not in position. If he's not in right position, then, it could be a big game for the other side. So that's one thing that does make me nervous, but it doesn't make me as much as nervous as it was going, in the beginning of the season as it is now. Another thing too, Bills that concerns me is penalties. Penalties at the wrong time. Again, if you look at it last year, the Bills are just boneheaded penalties at the wrong time, and sportsmanlike or just mental errors, jumping off sides at the wrong time. You look at Ed Alver, how he jumped off sides last week at the wrong time, but he was able to, make up for it with the big sack as well. But and that's another thing with penalties. And, one thing too, I question our wide receiver depth right now. You know what I mean? That's going to be another thing to look at. So, you do have some weaknesses of the Bills that the 49ers are going to try to exploit on Monday night. And, some of those three things just may be one of the factors that the Niners might choose.
I don't think this game could be occurring at a more perfect time for people like us to be able to analyze where this team really is with their strengths and weaknesses and et cetera. Because we've talked about this defense over the last 3 weeks, over the Seahawks game, the Cardinals game, and then last week against the Chargers. And I think a lot of people would agree when I say this defense has progressed, and last week was kind of a pinnacle of that. That was probably one of their best performances, at least at this stage of the season. That was one of their best performances last week against the Chargers. So that build up and that progress to that point, what's also been looped into that defensive production, into that improvement, is the improvement against the rushing attack. Not necessarily against the Cardinals as they went over 200 yards, but against the Chargers last week when they had Austin Eckler returning. I understand the Bills were in the lead for a majority of that game, and it probably wasn't advantageous for the Chargers to try and run the ball. But the Bills' run defense did keep that number a little low. Justin Herbert did get over 300 yards passing. So I'm interested to see if this defense can continue on the path that they've been on for the last 3 weeks. That's what I'm most concerned about. Because when I see this offense and what they have at their disposal, I'll talk about Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk in a second, but I see Raheem Mostert, Devin Coleman, and Jerick McKinnon all available to this offense. And they aren't shy to hand the ball off to anybody, whether it's Hasty, whether it's Jeff Wilson Jr. They don't care. They don't have a guy on this team in that offensive room that they don't have a plan for if he has to be on the field, which is what I like about this offense, which is what I like about Kyle Shanahan as an offensive play caller and play designer. But to his wide receivers, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, I don't even know if you can necessarily call them pass catchers. I call George Kittle a pass catcher. When I see those two players, I think of athletes. I think of dynamic players with the football in their hands. And that's not to say that they're not good at catching the football. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I am saying is that when they get the ball in their hands, they're both almost like running backs. They're both explosive. They're both agile. They're both powerful. They're both looking to not only go around you, but go through the next guy too. So I am really intrigued to see what those 5 players can contribute to this 49ers offense and how they're going to impact the game against the Bills. And if the Bills, Jeff Uvino said it on the Overtime podcast on Tuesday night, my co-host on the Overtime podcast. He said the biggest key in this game, what will be the determining factor, is if this Bills defense can keep that 49ers offense under 4 yards per carry. That is really what it comes down to for me as well. Because if this is a game where the 49ers can do whatever they want up the middle, and if they can do whatever they want with those 5 players, whether it's running jet sweeps on the perimeter or running between the tackles or running McKinnon off the edge or running Mostert off the edge, what have you, if they're having their way on the ground, this one might not go in the Bills' favor, whether they have Nick Mullins or not, because quite frankly, they don't necessarily have to use Nick Mullins to win this football game if the Bills' rush defense is not to the point where we all may think it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a tough situation. I mean, when you look at it, here it is. Points allowed. They give up 23 points. The Bills give up 25 points a game. You look at, like I said before, the Bills are dead last in penalties, by the way, guys. You know what I mean? They're dead last in penalties. So that's a big eyesore. When you look at rushing yards per game, the Bills average 104, 49ers average 112. When you look at average rushing yards given up, the Bills give up 130 yards a game, and San Fran gives up almost 110 yards a game on the ground. So it's going to be quite interesting. The Bills do give up 4.7 yards on the ground. Raheem Mostert is a dynamic back. He kind of remind me, he's a little bit like a Kenyon Drake type with that big body. And, he loves the, one cut. So that's going to be something to see. Now, if the Bills could can contain San Fran's run game, let Nick Mullins beat you with his arm. That would be my thing. Nick Mullins will have to go for 300 out there today. I mean, on Monday night to beat us. But I will be focused on really shutting down the run, because that's really what 49ers are banking on. They do a lot of window dressing. You look at the Shanahan family, they running that zone concept to the T. And, they're one of the originators of it. So he has a lot of weird, crazy ways on resetting that alignment to get what he won in the run game. So that's going to be, that's going to be really the X factor, the run game.
Well, I don't know. I'm not so sure. It might be window dressing he's putting on the play, but they might be putting ranch dressing on the ball because this 49er team in the last 4 games has put the ball on the ground 8 times, losing 6 of them. So the Buffalo Bills have to be very conscious of the fact that if they're going to try to run the ball on you, there are going to be opportunities for you to try to knock that ball out with the amount of volume that they run. Just to go over the last 4 games for the San Francisco 49ers, they played Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, and the LA Rams. I think we could say that we feel as a Buffalo fan base, the Bills. I know it's all about matchups. I'm just giving a comparison by team though. Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, and LA Rams. I think we could say that the Buffalo Bills defense, it seems like it's better than those teams. So you're starting to look at the San Francisco 49ers were 1-3 in those games with 11 turnovers. 11 turnovers in those 4 games. They actually caused 6. They actually forced 6 themselves, but they gave the ball to the 11 times in the last 4 games. That is going to be something that is a focus of the 49ers going into this week, going into Arizona to try to play the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be one of their central focal points. And Mookie and Clayton, you guys know this. When you're focused on something other than your job, when you're doing something on the football field, you're not going to play as fast as you want to play. So if that's the focus, I haven't been in San Fran. I haven't been to the practices. I don't know. But I know is if I'm coaching a team and we turn the ball over 11 times in 4 games, losing 3 out of 4, I am as a head coach is saying, listen, you put the ball on the ground, you're not going to carry the ball the rest of the game. So the Buffalo Bills themselves have to be conscious about that going into this game, saying, listen, we got to try to knock this ball out because these guys, they can't hang on to it. So let's try to generate some turnovers for our offense, put this game away early.
Oh, boy. Mario. See, this is I love it when Mario's on the show. I love it. This is great.
I don't know what I did.
I mean, Blitnikoff, he has a good point here in the comments saying
he does.
That was without Ayuk, Mostert, and Debo. But I get the overall point because this is a team that their bread and butter, where they are the most comfortable, is running in this zone scheme. And don't get me wrong, I've been saying it all year that the Bills need to do better running the ball, and last week they did, playing the Chargers. So I've been saying that all year. But when you are one-dimensional in the terms of a one-dimensional football team as you can't pass the ball, which with Nick Mullins and without George Kittle, it's not really ideal to be putting that ball in the air. You're going to be running these jet sweeps. You're going to be running. You're going to be a far more run-oriented team. So having a one-dimensional team in terms of you're just running the ball, obviously defenses can stack the box against you, but they can find tendencies with your ball carriers. That's what these guys are going to do. Because they're not just professional football players; they're professional film watchers. That's part of the trade. Like that's half the job is knowing your opponent's tendencies and knowing what's going on. And and that teams keying in on insufficiencies of these players and deficiencies and how they carry the ball, forcing these balls out, forcing blitzing in certain gaps, running certain schematic things to the point where this offense gets neutralized to the point where we're talking about not really one of the top offenses in the league this year. They have the record they have for a reason, and injuries is a big part of that, but also deficiencies in what their bread and butter is also a large part in that as well. So I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you brought up their turnovers and the record in these last handful of games. I understand they're getting some talent back. I understand some of these players are getting worked back into the offense, and they're starting to get a flow. Debo Samuel, oh my goodness, that dude was totally fire last week. So
he was.
This week it's going to be huge to see what they do with defending Debo Samuel. Because I view Debo Samuel as not necessarily as a player comparatively to Keenan Allen, but how this offense could use him Not necessarily with the jet sweeps and whatnot, but in that the versatility of being able to play on the boundary and also in the slot. So I think that is going to be a huge factor, whether it's going to be Teron Johnson out in the slot or it's going to be Tre'Davious White following him around the field. I'm interested to see what the plan is to defend Deebo Samuel. And also this rushing attack, to see what they can do to try and force the ball out and make opportune plays at opportune times.
Absolutely, man. And just to follow up with Mario with that turnover, I mean, you dead on with that, though. 49ers ranked 24th in, plus minus. Right now they're at -4. When you look at the Bills, they're ranked 15th at +1. But when you do look at the Bills past, 5-6 games, they didn't, had 10 takeaways and 19 sacks. So, I think they rank second right now in sacks. Would you believe that the Bills are, top 3 in sacks right now? So we can't talk about them not getting to the quarterback. Obviously, they are. They rank top 3 in quarterback sacks. So it's a trend in the right direction for the defense. Let's just hope they just keep that up. Is they're getting pressure on the quarterback that creates turnovers on the back end. So hopefully they can keep that up against San Fran. Put the pressure on Nick Mullins. Stack the box. Force a passing situation on third down, which they was pretty stout last week, holding the Chargers to 18% on third down, 80% on fourth. But I mean, third down, you really getting them off the field. So just to see they held the Chargers to 18%. If they can keep that up, that bids well for the Bills on the road. So, it's a real interesting game because the defense is still stout. You're missing Bosa out there, but, you still got Fred Warner, who's having a Pro Bowl season. You got, the rookie sensation, Ken Law is out there. Richard Sherman, the savvy vet, is still out there. And then don't sleep on Jason Verrett on the other side. He was a top pick coming out of college. Sometimes it takes those guys a while, but he's a worldly vet. So it's going to be real interesting to see this matchup on Monday night. Real interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting.
I just it's if I could be afforded an old Gorilla Monsoon phrase from the 80s, Mookie will know this. It's the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. It's going to be like, okay, how's it going to go? Because we know the 49ers for years always stacked first round picks on their defense. They always had that. You always had 5 or 6 first round picks that were either going to be on that front 7 or in the secondary. And yeah, you're right. You're 110% correct. It was the fact that this defense has been playing pretty well. I mean, they're 11th in the NFL in points against. So it's not like this defense hasn't been able to stop anybody. They've been stopping people, and they've just been trying to keep the offense in it. I mean, it seems like a very similar situation that the Buffalo Bills fans have seen with their team for many years. The defense has been stout, and we're just kind of waiting for the offense to kind of get started. But, I mean, with the injuries that have decimated the San Francisco 49ers, it's kind of hard. And that's why I say it brings an air of unpredictability. And maybe some of the turnovers that are being caused is the fact that there's a lack of chemistry going on with what's going, Mookie, if you're a running back behind a line, you have to try to trust the guy that's in front of you. I mean, the offensive line for the 49ers is pretty good. I mean, there's some studs up there. So the Buffalo Bills defensive front is going to have their hands full, and maybe, you got to pick your poison here. Can the secondary cover long enough for the front 4 if you just want to bring 4 to get there? Or are you going to have to try to bring a guy out of coverage such as, a Milano or a Klein and risk having a back leak out of the backfield and kill you with a large gain? So it's going to be tough to see which poison the Buffalo Bills pick this Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be real tough, man. It's going to be real tough matchup on Monday night. I don't like that relying on the 4. I don't ever want to hear that again, Mario. I never want to hear relying on the 4. Let's not go back to that. We know what happens when they do that. We're not even about to go there with I'm just back. That's not aggressive. That's not aggressive defense.
Well, no, it's not. No.
Honestly, the point in time where they're playing the 49ers, I don't think it could stack up much better for them. Really, if you get Milano back in this game, because there was a lot of confusion today because normally the team calls up their practice squad players by Saturday 4 p.m. or they'll activate a player coming off of injured reserve by Saturday 4 p.m. That all changes because they play on Monday, so it'll be by Monday at 4 p.m. We'll know whether or not Matt Milano and Terrell Dotson will be activated off injured reserve and which players will be pulled up from the practice squad for this game. So I just wanted to clarify that.
It might be tomorrow. You might get that tomorrow. You'll get any type of roster moves will probably happen tomorrow. Who's activated and who's not activated leads up to game time.
I could have swore I saw. I could be mistaken. So yeah, it'd either be tomorrow or Monday. But you will find out for definitively whether Matt Milano will be playing this game or not. But back to what I was saying, this game really coming at the point in time when it does, when Tremaine Edmonds has really kind of rebounded from that play that he had the start of the season with his shoulder injury, with J. Klein obviously catching fire coming off of his AFC Defensive Player of the Week award with 14 tackles, and I believe he had 3 tackles for a loss in that game. You know, he was all over the field in both facets. So if he can have a game, if those linebackers can continue to play well and they continue to pick their spots correctly on the defensive side of the ball, that's more so up to Leslie Frazier and scheming these guys into ideal situations against ideal looks. That's going to play a huge factor in this game because, like you were saying, Mookie, early in this season, they were really kind of predicated on their old school style defense, what they've been doing the last couple of years, having it be mostly based on that front four defensive front and what those guys can do just based on their own productivity. But without that big one technique defensive tackle, that's not really available to them. So they kind of have to manufacture pressure and make things happen on that side of the ball. And like you said, Mario, there are a lot of pretty good offensive linemen. I mean, you're talking about Trent Williams, Mike McGlinchey, and Laken Tomlinson. And I understand they do have a few guys out. It's not their ideal offensive line, but who does have an ideal offensive line at this point in the season? So I'm really excited to see what the defense can do against this offensive line. That ultimately on the defensive side of the ball, it comes down to whether or not they can stop the rushing attack, whether or not they can keep them under 4 yards per carry. Because if they gash them and they run the ball 35, 40 times in this game and the Bills can't stop a nosebleed, I don't know. I don't think Josh Allen gets enough possessions to try and take the team down for a game-winning drive or score enough points for that matter. You're going to have to maximize your possessions on the offensive side of the ball at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to think of it this way. Any other team now for the rest of the year, because of what this Buffalo Bills offense, and brace yourself, Bills Mafia, here's what's about to happen. You're starting to see teams go up against the Bills, and their mindset going against the Bills is we got to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands in that offense. We have to try to run the ball and milk some clock. We can't give them extra possessions. What do the 49ers do? They run the ball well, but they also turn the ball over. So they can run the ball. That's what the Buffalo Bills had. That's why the defense had to kind of, they started the year like this and they had to kind of shift what they were doing because they're always able to run the ball the last few years. But the Bills were able to, generate some positive yardage by running the ball. Now they're a passing team. So they had a defense initially the past 2 seasons that complemented a run-first oriented team. So now when you flip it over, you're like, okay, we know that teams are going to come in against us and they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more. And Mookie, I will say this, though, about the front four comment that I made, just rushing 4. You got to attribute those not 100% of them, but you got to attribute the fact that that guy was able to get 14 tackles last week is because guys weren't able to get up to the second level on the linebackers. So I just wanted to throw that little nugget in there, the fact that, like, there's a reason your linebackers are able to roam the field and make plays like that. It's because your defensive linemen are keeping guys off of the second level on them. So that's my response. Like a disappointed father at dinner. Like, I'm sorry. I'll eat my broccoli and go in my room.
I honestly, on the Bills,
I ain't did it in a long time.
Don't do it.
I ain't did it in a long time.
I'm not ready for that. No, I'm not ready for it.
Week.
No,
you're gonna scare him, dude. He's not gonna come back to the playoffs if you do it again.
PJ, awkward silence.
He's on the bye week right now. So he's all right.
You got to clean it off.
But yeah, I mean, these. I mean, not only the San Fran game, these next 4 games is not going to be easy, and it's kind of cool because these games beforehand kind of prepared the Bills for this. They get these tough games. They weather the storm. They're 8-3. Now it's prime time. Now the lights get a little bit more bigger. The stage is a little bit more broader. Your name is buzzing now. How would the Bills be able to handle that and still perform? And, like you say, they play well because they're always accustomed playing at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now they're going to be playing at all sorts of times. So Let's see, does that play a factor in, game prep? Your body does act different, and especially when when things are routine, your body knows that. So, we'll have to see how these guys are going to perform on this prime time stage these next 4 games. But it's just real interesting to see. I mean, the 49ers offense is real explosive. So, the Bills are accustomed to dealing with, top 10 offenses. They have played, some of the best offenses already. So, now you got the defending NFC champion coming in here. And, they are without their starting quarterback. They are without their leading receiver. But they still have guys that's going to be, important pieces. Deebo Samuel's no joke. Brandon Ayuk, he could blow the top off the defense. So, you have those elements to figure out, well, hey, like Mario said, they're going to run the ball, run play action, run guys in motion, go zone. Then now that comes to run action off the zone, and they hitting one of those guys. Who's to say? We talking about a guy. We're talking about someone that we're not talking about. Actually might be the player of the game. You know what I mean? Who's the third option for them as far as the receiver core? The tight end. You know what I mean? So you never know what the game plan would be and what it entails. The Bills just have to be on point. They're a lot of them are students of the game. They love watching film, as Clay just mentioned. And, we're just going to have to see if the guys have really done their homework with this, because it's not going to be easy up against this offense. Kind of little similarities with how McVay was coming at them with the Rams with all that motion doing run action. You're going to see the kind of similar style of offense. So if they can mimic or they can get some good combination of pass rush and pass coverage, the Bills will be fine. You know what I mean? But they definitely got to stop the run.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears to the Bills offense, looking at this 49ers defense. This is probably the biggest 4-3 defensive front that I've seen in the NFL in a while. Like, just starting base front. I understand they're not where they're where they're at right now by circumstance, considering they don't have Nick Bosa to throw in there, which is kind of he's kind of the Swiss Army knife of that defensive line, who he's not really powerful or finesse. He's a little bit of everything. But you look at the defensive line, you're talking about Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, DJ Jones, and then Kerry Hyder Jr., who has 7.5 sacks this season, he's really been putting in work wherever he's gone, and now he's first really getting his opportunity now with the 49ers. I don't know. I don't really like how big that front is and how they match up with the Bills front, and how I feel like having 4 big bodies across that defensive line could very well lead to a player like Brian Winters being overwhelmed on the interior. And that's a big problem when you talk about pressure along the interior in a game where I think the Bills would be, I don't know. I don't know. Mookie, what do you think about this big defensive front? What are you doing? You're a coach. What are you doing against a big defensive line like that of the 49ers?
Well, one thing that I'll be doing is making sure my tight ends are prepared, because I'm going to put that tight end out there and I'm going to see what's going to be my alignment, how they're going to line up with my tight end out there. All right, I'm going to put my tight end. I'm going to put him in the nasty split too. I'm going to put his butt in the nasty split just to see how they're going to shade my tight end. If they shade him inside, they one second, then we can come down on that, seal the edge, kick out. If you're gonna play him 2 shades straight up, then hey, it's hat on a hat blocking. I like that opportunity there. But I'm gonna stick my tight end out there just to see what type of alignment they're gonna give me in that 4-man front. Is that backer gonna walk down over my tight end? So that's the first thing I want to see. I need to manipulate the line of scrimmage to know I can get 3, 4, 5 yards of crack at will. You know what I mean? That's the first thing I'm looking for. Second, I'm looking for that big guy in the middle, Armstead. Because he's going to be matched up against Brian Winters. It's going to be a long day for Brian Winters. So we're going to have some sort of help. It's going to be helping with the center, or we're going to be coming down, with Darrell Williams helping him over the top. So that's something to look for, that matchup. Winters versus Armstead. You're looking at a sequoia tree right now, 6'8", 300 plus pounds. So that's going to give Brian Winters a lot of problems up front. So that's one matchup that we're going to have to look out for. How are they going to, block him? up front, because that's given, the rest of those guys still, the opportunities to play free. You look at Kinlaw, how he's playing, and Jones, by the way, that interior is quite nasty. So it's going to be tough for the Bills to run the ball against San Fran. I'm very opportunistic to see how creative Coach Dable is going to be on manipulating that line of scrimmage on Monday night. So that's what I want to see. Me personally, up front, I'm seeing what's my alignment is so I can manipulate that. And Clay, I know you know all about manipulating that line of scrimmage.
Oh yeah, I'll give my thoughts right after Mario touches on what do you think could possibly be the best plan of attack when taking on a big defensive front like this in the 49ers. They have a beat up secondary. This defensive line, in my opinion, I touched on what I thought. They can get overwhelming, but I feel like they might be a tad oversized. What do you think, Mario?
I think you need to sign Quentin Spain. No, I'm just kidding. No, when you look at the depth chart of that front four. Now, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a preview, there have been, I think, 3 games in which the 49ers were, they were just blown out. Okay, they were just blown out. And then there was 2 other games in which they were, they had very large leads on a team. And I believe it was the New England Patriots and it was the New York Giants that they really just had huge leads. So what happens when, obvious thing that we all know, when a team has a huge lead, the other team has to throw to get back in it. You can't even say that some of these guys on the defensive front, and this is both to Mookie and Clayton's point, you can't even say that their stats are inflated because they were blowing out teams and teams had to try to throw on them. And the more they threw, they got more sacks and all this stuff. You can't even say that. So trying to block all these guys, I think that you're going to have to try to use a lot of misdirection. Not that they're overly aggressive on that front four. And the fact is, you just got to try to get him going in one direction and then have them try to change direction. So what you would do is you run a couple inside trap plays you want to run. You bring a tight end, you put him in an H-back role, such as maybe a Lee Smith. And I'm only saying that because he's like another tackle out there. And you bring him across. You block down and bring him across as almost like a pulling guard. So you have 6 on that line instead of 5 to take care of 4. If you have that, if you're able to do that, because am I worried about Dawkins? No. Am I worried about Mongo? No. Am I worried about Morse? No. I think a lot of people are worried about Winters, but he's surrounded by Morse and Williams who have been playing pretty well when they have been in there. So a lot of things get cluttered up in there. You can have a back come in. You can have Singletary stay in to block out, on pass pro because he's been really good at it. Moss has been okay at it. So you can do a lot of different things with your offensive sets in order to try to offset that. You can even take a page out of Shanahan's playbook, start running a lot of motion, try to get them out of the box. What do you want to do if you want to try to slow up a pass rush? If you have a pass rush in your face and these guys are getting off the ball pretty quick, we may see some more screens. So all of that intertwined is hopefully going to be, in the game plan come Monday night when Dable and Allen in this offense decides to roll against this very powerful front four.
Oh, people say I don't give Brian Dable credit. People say my criticism towards Brian Dable is a crutch. If that even, I don't know. I don't need a crutch, but. Anyways, Brian Dable, when you see the situation for this guy, put yourself in Brian Dable's shoes for a second. Pardon me if that made a noise. I bumped my mic. But put yourself in Brian Dable's shoes for a second. You're going on Monday Night Football with Josh Allen and this offense that really has been firing on all cylinders for a majority of the season. You're going on center stage against the defending NFC champions. Yeah, they are beat up, but they're defending NFC champions, and you're still playing one of what's considered to be one of the better, younger offensive minds in football right now with Kyle Shanahan. Look at certain games this season, certain points of the year. Games like the Rams game, games like the Cardinals game, playing these guys these young, innovative offensive minds who come to play chess, not checkers. And, in those games, this offense has shown up. I understand the offense disappeared in that Rams game for half of football, but there was also a half of football where they led 20-3. And I understand that the Bills lost that Cardinals game due to inefficiencies in the second half, and that seems to be the bugaboo for this year for this team. It's been a problem for almost 2 seasons now. So that's a given. But this situation for Brian Daboll at this current point in time, wow. You are walking into an excellent situation on Monday Night Football, center stage, in front of the entire nation against, I wouldn't say an ideal opponent. I wouldn't say this is an ideal matchup for the Bills. But when you're facing a big front four like this, I think it sets you up to, like you said, Mario, or like both of you guys touched on it, scheming your spots, opening yourself up to creativity, getting these guys moving, testing their discipline, testing. And it's not necessarily even just overall foundational discipline. Sometimes it has to do with we're getting so damn tired that, you start to make mental mistakes. And that's really what I think this game could come down to for the Bills offense if they're able to sustain drives. Getting those similar, I wouldn't say the same game plan to last week. I don't think it's going to be very advantageous trying to run the ball out of the gate against this defensive front. I think this is a game where if you're going to try and establish your rushing attack, you're going to establish it after establishing your passing attack. You're going to pass to set up the run rather than run to set up the pass in this game, in my opinion. And that's something this Bills offense is really good at. If you can get those short passes moving, they're missing their starting nickel cornerback this week. They're not going to Kawan Williams, that's his name. I'm sorry. They're going to be without Williams. So you're going to have Cole Beasley against the backup. They also lost Jamar Taylor last week. And they also, they do have Jason Verrett, but I don't know. John Brown's not going to be in this game. So that makes me a little nervous. So maybe this is Cole Beasley's opportunity. Maybe we see Cole Beasley get 15 plus targets in this game. And this is really the game where, that was a Cole Beasley game. And he's a foundational part of this offense. And, you see Diggs get worked in there. This is a game for Brian Daboll to really kind of showcase to NFL teams out there, to everybody in this league that, hey, I'm here. I'm ready for a job here in the post after this season's over. I understand a lot of Bills fans don't really think of it that way. And the Bills do have a long way to go before, everybody in that build. Well, I wouldn't necessarily everybody's ever going to be worried about Brian Daboll leaving, but before everybody, a consensus of the Buffalo Bills have to have the discussion about Brian Daboll leaving. That guy has a profession, and that guy has to look out for himself. And I understand I've had my criticisms, and I still have reservations about Brian Daboll as a play caller, an offensive coordinator, and what have you. But when you look at it at that position as a man, if you put yourself in his shoes as a human being with that profession, my goodness, do you have an opportunity this Monday night?
Yeah, they got a great opportunity. I mean, the way the offense is just playing, they have a great opportunity. I mean, look at this. Josh Allen pretty much has his career high in passing yards. Nobody thought he was going to throw over 400 yards. I think I said that in the summertime he was going to throw over 4,000. I did say that. I think I did. But yeah, you look at how the offense has really evolved. You look at how Stephon Diggs is emerging as the leading receiver in the NFL. Josh Allen numbers are off the roof. So you really can't say nothing bad about Daboll. You know what I mean? Other than what the hell is going on in the run game. He's so asphyxiated on the pass that, hey, we just swing the back out. That compensates as a run because, that's another thing that I would do to that defensive front for San Fran. Get them to chase. But the Bills don't do no types of sweeps or pitches. They don't really do no outside zone too tough. But I would want to tire those guys out. Get them to chase. Just run some sweeps. Something that they don't see on film that the Bills do. You know what I mean? So, but in hindsight, it's going to be real interesting to see the emergence of Gabe Davis. With John Brown being on IR, Gabe Davis have to be, a fixture in this offense and make plays. You did see the trick play from Cole Beasley to Gabe Davis, and then you saw the big play on the 44-yard reception late in the game that put him in scoring position. So we need to see more out of Gabe Davis. Because once we see Gabe Davis eating, then that's going to bring the attention to him, and it works for Beasley and of course Stephon Diggs, because teams are automatically going to double him and pay attention to where he is every time they come out of the huddle. So Gabe Davis is definitely going to be that X factor now that John Brown is out on IR. So run game, and what's the plan with Gabe Davis on Monday? Those are some key factors to look for in the Bills' offense on Monday night. So,
Mario,
what?
What?
Are we doing? What? Is it hot take time? Is it hot take time?
What?
Hashtag who? Yeah, I think
Waterboy.
You okay? All right. Let me throw you some passes next time I see you.
Them hands is there now. Them hands. They're round. They ain't as big, but they're round. We looking it in. You know what I mean?
Age-old saying was by Paul Brown. He said, "Listen, if you got a trick play, you got to run it before the other guy." So just going on the hot take by Backbone saying there's not going to be any trick plays Monday night. But I think if they're going to run one, they're going to run them. You have to run it before your opponent, or else it's not a surprise anymore. I like to think that some people always want to look at records. You want to talk about Buffalo Bills are 8-3, and San Francisco's 5-6. It's going to be a pushover for Buffalo Bills. Vegas line has it at 1 point, which irritated Mookie. But then you start to look around the league, you're like, the Cleveland Browns are 8-3. Like, I don't think anybody knows that they're 8-3 at this point. I don't think even Cleveland knows that they're 8-3 at this point. So, and then everyone wants to make a remark about the Pittsburgh Steelers is the schedule that they've played. Have they played a soft schedule? Well, yeah, maybe they've played a soft schedule, but they've won those games. Like, you have to give them credit the fact that they won those games. So bringing that back to the San Francisco Buffalo Bills game, you start to look at it. I think San Francisco was 1-4 at home. So you're like, hey, this is going to be good for the Buffalo Bills. San Francisco's 1-4 at home. Well, you know what? They're 4-2 on the road, and they're not technically playing at home. So, they do go to Arizona in a couple of weeks to actually play Arizona. So that's what they're going to be for the foreseeable future. But I just see this as a dogfight. I see this as another cardiac game for the Buffalo Bills. I don't see it being a blowout. I don't see them killing. Like, even though we did see San Francisco get blown out by Miami, it's all about matchups. It's all about what kind of matchups can you create and within the game. So I see this as like a dogfight going down to probably the last drive of the game. I could just see that happening on Monday night.
I've already got my butter ready for the popcorn that I'm going to have watching Richard Sherman match up against Stephon Diggs.
They'll have Ward over the top. They're not going to keep him over there by himself.
I want to see a fight. I don't care. I want to see a fight. That's what I want to see. I want to see these two get competitive. Sherman probably isn't going to fight. He's a little too old for that now. But
they'll put Verrett on him. Seriously,
they would.
I think they'll put Verrett. I think they're because they may put
Sherman only played one side. He only played one side. So if Diggs is matched up on him on that side, then that's
well. If he did, then that means that either who was it? It's either going to be Ward or Harris over the top. Mm-hmm. So it's probably going to be Ward over the top of him. So they're not. That's the unfortunate thing for the Buffalo Bills is the fact that the 49ers can now shift coverages towards Diggs with JB out, with Smoke out. So that's the only tough part. And then they're going to know that the second option is going to be Beasley and whoever else is in there. But I mean, the Davis is going to, like you guys mentioned before, Davis is going to be the X factor in this game. Can he go up against Verrett and consistently beat him? I'm curious to see it. I am so curious to see it. He can out jump him. I know that. He can go up and get it.
Oh, but, man, he's going to piss so people off again.
Who am I pissing off?
We need to put Gabe Davis on Hail Mary defense, I thought.
That was Paul. That was all Paul. You guys can get mad on their Twitter. We got blown up on our Twitter feed, but Paul was like, you should put Gabe Davis in for Hail Mary coverage. It was the funniest thing ever.
Hey, that's not funny. That's not funny. Out there, that is not funny. You know what I mean? It's not funny when you got a bunch of 5'11" guys trying to get a jump ball or somebody that's 6'1" and 6'2". You need that left. I'll tell you one thing. Even though the Chargers did get the miraculous Hail Mary off again, at least Tremaine Edmonds was back there. All right. At least his 6'6", 250 pounds.
Daniel Gary.
With that length, at least he was back there. You know what I mean? So that knows they done tweaked it a little bit, okay? But just get those long arms up next time, Tremaine, okay? And you're right. Let's get Gabe Davis butt out there too.
Paul tweeted out that Gabe Davis, he goes, well, Gabe Davis on the coverage would be great. And then someone responded to us saying, put Dawson Knox, he's not going to catch it.
But you know what? You know one thing about Dawson? He catches the hardest, the most difficult. He does. That's thrown right at him. His ass ain't going to catch him. But the hard ones, he catches. So maybe he might catch the Hail Mary because it's kind of hard to do.
Hey, dude, can you do a 720 on a half pike? Yeah. Can you do an ollie? No. What the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, I struggle with that. Like, really?
Oh my God.
Like, what the come on, Dawson? And that's another thing. We ain't talked about him. We haven't talked about our tight end, you know. So it's gonna be real interesting. It's gonna be real interesting. When the schedule first came out, I did have the Bills losing this game. You know what I mean? Because that defense clicking, you know, with Garoppolo and another year killing those guys, kind of, you know, ticked off and losing the Super Bowl. I kind of figured they still had an edge, but I mean, with pieces missing, it still poses a problem for the Bills. Like Mario said, it's going to be a close one. I'm still juggling with it right now. I'm still juggling with this.
I have relegated myself to this. I don't know if you guys do. I'm sorry, Clayton. I'm jumping ahead of you. I've relegated myself to this for Dawson Knox. He typically gets 2, 3, and if he's lucky, 4 targets a game. He's lucky if he gets that. Okay. I have implemented for my own sanity the 75% rule. Is if he catches 3 out of 4 passes, I don't care if he drops the one for a first down. I don't care. If he catches 3 out of 4 passes in a game, I am not going to stress out about that man, you know, trying to do all this stuff, because you got to figure he's not running those down the field routes, those long, even though he can run a seam route. I would love to see him run more seams. If he was running those down, he's catching these passes, and you know he's not the first option. So figure this out for me. He's not the first option on a route a lot of times. Allen's throwing it when he's under pressure, so it's not really the most crisp pass in the world. And he's the closest to the line when he's running his routes. He has the shortest route tree. So you try to catch a 95-mile-an-hour fastball when it's coming at you like that, I could give him some leeway. So if he gets 75% of the catches, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, them hands is not soft at all. At all.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We're not supposed to be roasting the team.
We call it like we see it, man. We call it like we see it. If I see Dawson right now, it's the same way. You know what I mean? It's the same way. Let me see those things, man. Let me see those hands. Them things don't look soft enough for me, Dawson. Oh, we got to soak some things in some palm olive.
I saw these things at Home Depot earlier. What are you doing?
Oh my goodness.
Hands.
We got to get bold. We got to get bold. Bold prediction time. It's been a while since I've heard one of Mario's bold predictions that he always is going to text me during the game and say he was kind of right. So, Mario, you got to go first. I know you're probably going to steal mine. You're probably going to pull it right out of my head. So, what would be your bold prediction in this game?
Bold prediction for the Buffalo Bills against the San Francisco 49ers will be 4 turnovers. I think that the San Francisco 49ers are going to turn the ball over 4 times against the Bills.
Okay.
I'm not going to go with a score or yardage. Initially, I wanted to go with a rushing performance by either Moss or Motor. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to my guns and say that the San Francisco – no, I'm not saying how many turnovers the Bills are going to have. I'm just saying that they're going to have the 49ers, I think, will have 4. The Buffalo Bills will be on a hunt. There'll be a lot of peanut punches and Mullins is going to put the ball in harm's way as he has in the past. So I'm going to say 4 turnovers by the 49ers.
Damn. Mookie?
Mine's is simple, man. I'm simple. We're going back to the scene of the crime, right? So our guy Tyler Bass was on fire that day too. All right, let's not forget he hit one for 58. I'm going to say Tyler Bass hit one for 60 Monday night. 60.
Wow.
Tyler Bass hits a 60-yarder. Game winner, you said?
I didn't say game winner.
23-20? You're crazy.
It could be game winner. It could be game winner.
9-6? You're nuts.
Baseball season.
If it were up to me and how I attack this team and how I'd use the offense against the 49ers, I know I'm putting the ball in the air. I'm looking for Cole Beasley. I'm looking for Stephon Diggs. I'm putting Stephon Diggs on Jason Verrett. I don't care about the over-the-top coverage. I'm attacking the intermediate area of the field. I'm attacking the short area of the field. And I'm using my passing game almost as an extension of my rushing attack just to open up the running game. So I think you're going to see a very efficient day for Josh Allen. I think you're going to see him throw the ball a lot. You're not going to see just 24 attempts this week. You're not. I think you're going to see 35, 40, somewhere in that area. You're going to see that many pass attempts. And I think Allen completes over 70% of them. I think this is really the game where the national media on national television is really going to kind of step back. I understand these guys are they're kind of flirting with the idea of liking Josh Allen. They really have been for the last 2 months. But, I kind of said it earlier this week on Twitter that people should be looking at independent people to cover this team, and also people like Mookie beat writers that, they do this for a living rather than the national media for true analysis of this football team. I think this is going to be a game where everybody says, wow, Josh Allen is an efficient quarterback. So I'm going to say Allen's going to complete over 70% of his passes, and he's going to attempt more than 35 passes in this game.
Can I mooch off of that?
You can mooch off whatever you want.
An additional bold prediction?
Yeah.
10 of those targets will be the backs.
Okay. I hope to see that. These guys, I don't anticipate either of those backs getting more than 12 carries.
You sold me on it, Clayton. You sold me out for what you said earlier about Dable, a primetime game. What a time for him to showcase his talents. And then you got to think about him going to a team that's not very good. Obviously, if you're going to fire your coach, your team's not very good. A lot of those teams get new quarterbacks. What do you do to soften the blow of any quarterback that comes in the NFL?
Good running.
Show them you not run, but you show them you can give him outlets in the form of running backs to help the guy out so he doesn't get killed back there when you have a franchise guy. So that could be another showcase of that.
It's going to be a fun game. I think regardless, I think a lot of Bills fans are going to enjoy this Monday evening. I hope they do. Otherwise, Tuesday's really going to suck for people that got to go to work. That's always a rough time. And, I really remember that. I remember that week that the Bills lost the Seahawks. I couldn't go to bed. Couldn't. It's really bad when these games don't go their way. I wouldn't necessarily say when they don't necessarily go their way, but when they get bad, like when stuff happens like that, where your kicker gets tackled. So I hope Mario didn't jinx it. And if the Bills do lose this game, I will be tagging #sports on Twitter, because the Bills have not won a Monday Night Football game since 1999 on October 4th. And I will not forget that, because he wanted to throw me under the bus for retweeting something that he tweeted. So
that might have been Paul. I don't know. I can't remember.
Who knows? Who knows anymore? It's all crazy. But fellas, it's getting late. So Mookie, please tell the people what you have going on, where they can find you, and hey, all the work you got going on going forward.
Hey, I know where y'all always can find me. First and foremost, y'all can always find me right here, Cold Front, baby, on Saturday night tailgate. All day, every day. You can always check me out at the Waffle Sports Report every Sunday, giving you exclusive interviews and post-game conferences from coaches and players after the day games 6 to 7. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Waffle Sports. Holla at your boy. All
right. You know what? I feel really bad about this. I'm normally not this bad at hosting, but we did forget to give predictions. So right there at the tail end of where they can find you, what is your prediction, Mookie?
Hopefully I want to see 20 personnel out there. I have not seen it. I've been crying for it, lauding for it. I've done everything except for just literally ask themselves, like, when are we going to see 20 personnel? I know they have it in their repertoire. So once again, the run game is thriving. Hopefully we can see Motor and Moss out there at the same time. That might come, put the defense in a little bit of bind. But I'm going to say Bills win 31-30.
Ooh, with a 60-yarder from Bass Pro Shops. I love it. Wow. That is interesting. The fact that you went with 20 personnel, and for those of you that know, that's 2 backs, 0 tight ends against this front 4. That's a ton of confidence in this front 5, man. That's a lot of confidence in the front 5. But honestly, to Mookie's point, I love running that in 2 minutes, because then you have 7 in protection if you need it. Mm-hmm. So you always have 7 in protection if you need it. I would say, well, first of all, #sports is we're going to be doing our preview tomorrow night. Paul and I will be there, and we'll have some special guests for you guys as well. The Monday night game, I'm actually going to try to call. I'm going to call that game, obviously, here on YouTube, and then it'll be on Facebook. However, there will be a delay because YouTube has a delay, and the streaming service that I have is a delay. So please be patient with that. Don't give away the answers to the test in the chat. And I also want to throw a shout out to Stefan in the YouTube chat. It's going to be his birthday tomorrow. but he is the creator of the hashtag logo. When you guys see the hashtag logo, he actually created it and he designed it and sent it to us. So I wanted to send a big shout out to him. As far as predictions go, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills going back to the desert and exercising the demons. I think they're going to win 27-17.
All right. Once we started talking about it, I wasn't too confident in my prediction from Tuesday night. And for those of you that follow me, I like to stay consistent with my predictions and what I say, not necessarily what will happen or how I feel. That changes throughout the week a lot. But for a score, I do like to stay consistent. So I'm going to stick with my score. Earlier in the show, I wasn't too sure if I was going to, but I'm going to stay confident with this. I think the Bills, just top to bottom, they're a better football team. And this is a game similar to that of the Chargers last week. This is a game where the Bills, you got to handle business. Am I going to hit the panic button if the Bills walk out of this game with a loss? No, I'm not. Because like these two gentlemen pointed out throughout the duration of the show, this is an NFC opponent. I wouldn't say it's close to an exhibition game, but you're playing an NFC opponent. It's not as valuable of a game as that of a Chargers game or a Broncos game where you're playing a lesser quality opponent, but you're still playing in your conference. I'm going to stick with my prediction, though. I'm going to say the Bills are going to win this one kind of handedly. If you're just looking at the score and how they might win this game, I'm going to say the Bills win 31-17. I think this really is a showcase game for Allen, for Dable, for the whole offense. I understand you'll have John Brown out there, so that throws a little wrinkle into the plans. But this is an adaptive team. This is the quarterback's a leader. I'm looking forward to seeing what Brian Dable draws up and what these guys can do. Be sure to follow Mookie. Be sure to follow Mario. Be sure to follow the Cold Front Report on Twitter at Cold Front Report. Instagram, it's at Cold Front Report _Bills News. On Facebook, it's Buffalo Bills Cold Front Report. Subscribe on YouTube. Check out our wonderful, completely redone, state-of-the-art webpage. We got plenty of content coming up on there every single day with all of our talented writers. If you like to follow me, I'm on Twitter at CFR, CLAYTON, and on Instagram, it's the same exact handle at CFR Clayton. Thank you to both of these gentlemen for giving me their time. This is always a blast to do. We were talking. I looked at the clock and I was like, "Oh, geez, we're like 55 minutes in. We haven't done bowl predictions yet. These people are getting tired of us, but people are still watching. I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoy your evening. Hope you all stay safe, stay healthy. Hey, go Bills!
Wash your hands.